Hello friends, do you ever wonder how a complex games has been built with the codes and programming? Today we are going to make a simple game called Light Out with ReactJS code, and we'll run that right now with us and we'll have a fun with this game. So what is that this game? So for in this game we will have a grid of 5 cross 5 lights, and that lights can be toggled by clicking on that particular cell. So whenever we click on particular light, it will toggle itself, but it will also toggle the adjacent lights for that. To understand the logic, what exactly is happening here, this is our 5 cross 5 lights grid, and when we click on any light, we are assuming we clicked on this light. So on click of this light, it will toggle the all 4 adjacent light as well, including itself. So overall 5 lights will toggle here, and we can see the lights can be on or off based on their current states. So what exactly we have to do here? So in this game we have to make a dark for all lights. So we have to turn off all the lights until the complete darkness happens here. So whenever we will click on any light, it will toggle the adjacent light including itself. So if it is on, it will be off, and if it is off, it will be on. Before going on the code, ReactJS code, we will understand the logic. So this 5 cross 5 grid we have converted here in the rows and columns for understanding. So we have 5 rows and 5 rows and 5 columns. For each cell we have one row number and one column number, considering from 0 to 4 rows and 0 to 4 from columns. So if we click on any cell, we assume the same cell which we understand here. So if we click on this cell, that means we clicked on row number 1 and column number 1. And whenever we click on this particular cell, the row number 1 and column number 1 will toggle the all 4 adjacent lights. That means if we click on this cell, it will toggle all these 4 adjacent light which it's sharing the edges. So if we click on R1 and C1, so on click on R1 and C1, it will toggle for same column. It will toggle the row -1 and row +1. For the same row, it will toggle the row plus column +1 and column -1. By that means we can toggle all 5 lights. So whatever the current state, it will toggle that to make it on or off. Now let's jump into the code and see how we can create this with the ReactJS application. Here I assume you have a basic knowledge of JavaScript and the basic knowledge of React application. So a basic knowledge is sufficient for us to understand the simple game. For any React application, the code starts with SRI folder, and the main page is index.js. So index.js is always a first page which will render when we run any ReactJS application. So here starts with index.js, and in index.js there is first component named app. Inside app, that app and index.js we always get by default when we use create react app command to create a React application. Inside app we have created one component home. So we have also created here 2 folders named component and common. So component folder we have all components here. We'll go one by one on that. And in common folder we have used for common function and constants. So this home is a component created by us which we imported here in app.js. The home component is written here in a home.js class or file. So if we go into home.js, we can see it has simple code for rendering, only few lines there. So if we understand first what we need to create, so we are going to create something like this. So this one, the dark gray color which we have here, is our game area, and rest is body of the HTML page. So we have created one CSS game area which represent this dark gray rectangle, and before that we have a p tag here with the code for fun heading, which is this one. Again, for heading we have a simple CSS game heading. For CSS we have used app.css class, so you can find all the CSS here. So I will also provide the code link for you to go through the code and make changes according to yourself and have a fun. So in home.js, if we see, so all we have done, what we have to do is all about this game area. So when we talk about game area, we are talking about this gray rectangle. So this gray rectangle is divided in three sections. One is heading, one is this moves and restart button, and the third is play area. So we have heading here again with the game heading here, and the last is control panel component which we created, which represent here for moves and the restart button. So let's go one by one. So for heading, we have used heading from the constant file which we have created in common folder here, constant.js. So in constant.js we have used one heading variable and one congratulation message variable. So based on the win state, we will take the congratulation message or heading. Now what is the state? So here we have declared three states, or we can say three state variables for ReactJS, which are win, to just define a person is won or not. So it's based on true or false. We will, if a person wins the game, we will set this variable true, otherwise it's by default false. Another is move count. So we have to display a move count for how many clicks the person has done. For that we are creating a one state variable move, and the third is light grid. We'll come back to light grid in short time. So for win variable, if win variable is true for us, that means person has won, and we will highlight here congratulation message. Otherwise we will highlight the heading message only. So based on that, this heading message will change if a person wins or it's playing. Then before going on the light grid or play area, let's understand the control panel. So control panel is again a custom component which we created here in control panel.js class. When we go to the control panel, we can see here we have displayed the move passed on the props of this component here. So we have passed two props here, restart and move. So move is a state variable which we declare to count the moves, and restart is a function which we will use to restart the game or reset the states onto the original. So as you can see, all the states we are setting to original when we click on restart button. So control panel consists of two things, that is the move count and the font awesome icon of restart. So here we have used font awesome icon for restart. Now this span is that flex with style flex grow equal to 1 is just used to create a space between these two elements or components. So this move and the restart icon needs a gap between both of them. So we have used this CS style with the span to create a space between both of them. So we have simple component control panel and the simple heading tag here for P. Now let's jump to the light grid, which is main play area for us. So if we see the light grid, we have created one more component here, class with the name light grid and the light grid cell. So light grid internally uses light grid cell. So we have this also created as a component here. Now if we go to the light grid, you can see here we have used a simple loops here to iterate the grid values and display light grid cell. In home.js we can see in light grid we have passed two props, grid values and light click. So light click is again a function which will call on click of any light, and the grid value is a state variable which is holding the whole 2D matrix for the grid. So as you can see here in the Wikipedia page for light grid, we need a 2D matrix here to display the states of the light. So if the 1 represent the light on and 0 represent light off, but for us we have created a function, common function, which is coming from common folder and function class, that random initial values give us the something 2D matrix in something this form. So what is this? So this is that only just boolean values, true and false, random boolean values for random states of lights. How we have created this random values or random states? For that, let's understand here. In JavaScript we have math class where we can use random function of math class to get any random value. So if we use the math.random anytime, it will give a random value to us. Now when we use math.random with math.round to round off the particular random value, we will get always 1 or 0, because that random method gives only number between 0 to 1. So if we do round off, it can be 0 or it can be 1. It can be anything at any time. Now when we use boolean, when we cast that to boolean, we can see it will change to true or false based on 1 and 0. So 1 will be changed to true and the 0 will be changed to false. Based on that, we will always get different true or false state. So here we have created a simple constant function, get random state, with the same logic which I just explained in the console. So based on this, we will get a random state every time from this for a single cell. So that 2D matrix can be true, or each cell can be true or false, and that whole grid is there in 2D matrix. So that 2D array or 2D matrix we have created with 2-dimension array here, with the initial array first here, starting here and starting here and ending here, and each row is here represent each row in the grid. That is again a array. So in that 2D array we have used get random state, which we just created with the math.random function and converted to boolean to get the different states for us. And this random initial value gives us the random 2D array of true and false only, kind of this. So that will give us the random values for any light grid whenever we start. So this light grid in home function, we have passed this light grid, the 2D array, to the light grid component here as a grid values. So when we go inside of light grid, that grid values we use to iterate for each row, and then each row is iterating again for each column. So this call holds the value, different value for each state or each cell's state, that is true or false. So this call can be true or false at any time. based on that we pass the same thing here again as a light state in light grid cell. So what is light grid cell? Now light grid cell is just a span with some styling applied for light cell to make it a square shape with some margin and the CSS part, and again it also has the style based on the light state. So if light state is true, it will have the background color with on color, and if light state is false, it will have the off color. Now this on and off color we used to take from this constant file again, where we have declared a light colors for on and off state. So this one is the yellow color and this one is the dark gray, that is similar to black color which we used for off state. You can use any color while going through the code by yourself. So this light grid cell will always show based on the current light state that it is on or off. Based on that it will show the background color and it will look like on or off. Now this is just a single span for single cell. Now when we go back to the light grid, this rows is representing for the row in the grid for all the states of all the cells in the grid, and this row array for all the columns, and this light grid value iteration will comes for each row. So we are just using this row and the column and the row index and column index to identify on which row we have clicked. Now whenever we click on any cell or any light, this on click function applies, and here we are just calling the props dot light click. So whatever light click function we have passed, we will call that again with the row index and the column index, and with that row index and column index we call this light click function which we passed as a props here in light grid. When we click on light grid, it will come to this function, and this is the simple function with the logic which I explained here, that on click of any light we will toggle the light itself plus light row -1, row +1, and the column -1 and column +1 for the same row. So here again with the light grid state, we are taking that state and considering iterating that on the map, and we are finally calculating if the row index which we have selected that is same as the iteration index, row index and the column index, then we will, for the same row index and column index, we will toggle the light here. You can see the column that is true or false state is toggling. We are using this to toggle the light state. So it will toggle on the same row and column. Here it will toggle for the same row but different column, that column +1 and -1. Here it will iterate for the row -1, row +1 for the same column. So on the three cases we are applying this logic. So as you can see, we have OR operation here. For this OR operation, it will either of any case will toggle this state and the light will change, and this otherwise it will remain same. So this new grid which we found, we were again setting to the states as in new states of the grid. We are also checking the win. If all lights are off, then we will consider it as a win, and if win states is not is equal to undefined, then it will be true. So if all the lights, if there is no light as a true, then it will be undefined, and in case of undefined, win state will be true, and in that case we will show the congratulations message here. So this was the simple game which we can create with the simple ReactJS application of only 2 or 3 components. I am not going through the app.css here, that is simple CSS with which you can go through anytime. If you like this video, please share and subscribe.